So what I'd like you to do is to take yourself into your Pilates stance. So spread out those toes a little bit. Just rock gently forward and back until you can bring yourself to a point in the centre of the feet where you can feel all the little toe pads pressing down, where you can feel the ball of the big toe resting, the ball of the little toe resting, and the centre of the heel resting. So feel yourself evenly balanced around the whole of the foot. Soften the knees. It's really easy to press those knees back. Soften those knees. Think about slightly lifting the pubic bone up in order to lengthen the sacrum down. So what we want to do is to maintain this curve in the low back without exaggeration. So from here, think about your pelvis as being a bowl. Bring the pubic bone up slightly. You'll naturally feel a slight tightening through the abdominals. You'll get a lengthening but not a flattening in the lower back. And again, go back and make sure you've not locked the knees, so there's still a little bit of give in the knees. Open across the chest and the upper back and try to get a feeling of just lifting and lengthening the breastbone without affecting anything else. Chin slightly retracts, the crown of the head lifts. So pause for a moment and think about the breath. Think about our Pilates breath. We breathe in through the nose, we breathe out through the nose of the mouth. And we take the breath into the fullness of the rib cage, not down into the belly. So as you breathe in, feel your rib cage opening like a set of bellows. And as you breathe out, let it soften. So breathe in to open and breathe out to close. And if it's helpful, hands onto the ribs, a slight pressure against the heel of the hands. And as you breathe into the heels of the hands and feel that expanding rib cage, just gently pressing the ribs away. And then as you breathe out, it comes back in again. So you want to get that feeling of an accordion-esque style of movement. So maintaining the balance of your weight. You want to feel soft but strong. It's a concept, isn't it? Okay, from here, we're going to take a slight hinge forward from the hips. It's our Pilates hinge. So keeping the chin drawn in, think about the curves at the back of the neck and keep the same space front and back edge of the body. Hinging from the hip, just slightly hinging forward without rounding. So lengthen the breastbone forward, keep that soft curve low back, and then contract through your glutes and your hamstrings at the backs of the thighs to lift back up again. Okay? So from the hip hinge, hinge forward and squeeze to come back up again. So hinge forward and squeeze to come back up again. Just keep doing that. So again, we want to think about the bony landmarks at the front edge of the body, from the ribs to the hips, from the breastbone to the pubic bone. Those distances don't change. It's not like we're doing a crunch and shortening the front edge. We're keeping exactly the same lengths. And make sure that as you come forward from your hips, you don't leave your eye line exactly where it is, otherwise you end up doing something really unpleasant with your neck. So from here, the eye line, keeping the neck neutral, travels down as you hinge. Bring it back up, we add on. We start with a little hinge, we bend the knees, we bend as if to pick up a box, and then stand up. So we hinge slightly, we bend those knees track second and third toes, rather than wandering away. We hinge a little, keep the same length of the spine, keep the same length of the spine as we bend, and then stand back up again. Keep that going. So again, as you do this, as you bend your knees, make sure your knees track your second and third toes. Make sure that as you bend your knees, you keep your weight evenly into the centre of the feet so that you're pushing your hips back and you're not dropping the knees heavily forward. And it doesn't matter if you don't touch the floor, but I do want you to make sure that as you push back up again, you're strong through the back edge of that body. Okay, so nice and strong. And then bring it all the way back up to centre this time. Make sure that your back where you started from, the chin is still slightly retracted. We've got that slight sense of corset. And moving into a gliding side bend. So I tend to breathe in to my opening side and then breathe out to bring it back to centre. So I would breathe in to my left side as I come down to my right, and I'd breathe out to bring it back to center. There's no rotation in this at all. We're just gliding and gliding. Keep that going. Remember that muscles pull, they don't push. So as we work in this, you're being pulled down as I go to my left side, opening up my right. But when I come back to center, it's these long lengthened muscles that have to contract that pull me back up. So get the feeling of the muscles having to contract in order to create your movement. So as I move over to my right, my left side opens. I haven't shifted my weight, I've kept my weight even. And then this side having lengthened, it needs to shorten. Those muscles need to shorten to bring me back to center. Let's just do a couple more. So as I say, I breathe in to slide and out to return. You may do it differently. As long as you're not holding your breath, that's fine. And back to center. Give the legs a little shake out. Okay. So from here, let's do a little bit of balance. How's your balance first thing in the morning? Let's find out. Stand to the edge of your mat. Now you're going to need to go to the right side of your mat. So I've come towards you, but I've gone to the right side of my mat. I'm going to place the outside edge of my left foot directly up against the edge of the mat. I'm going to take the inside edge of my foot directly up against the edge of the mat. So, and I stand, my foot is in a perfect straight line. I don't have my heel turned in or out. Okay, and I'm going to do that on both sides. So I have the edge, outside edge of the foot, and the inside edge of the foot. Okay? Okay, which is wobbly in itself. All right, so from here, just notice that you can find a little bit of balance. You'll want to immediately put all the weight into the back leg, but that's going to be no fun at all. So bring the weight, I think I've been drinking. Bring the weight to the center of the feet. Now, moving the weight centrally might cause that lower back to slightly arch. So think again about opening up through the hip creases by lifting the pubic bone to smooth out the front edge of the body and to elongate but not flatten the back of the body. And then bring the hands just to rest. Make sure that you haven't moved the weight into the back leg again. You've got that slight corset. Chest is open, chin is slightly drawn in, gaze is forward. I'm so wobbly. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is find balance. If you think that you are all over the place, then stay here. Don't go anywhere, don't add anything on. Otherwise, from here, simply turn the head, look over the shoulder, bring it back to center. Turn the head, look over the shoulder, bring it back to center, and again. So moving your gaze is going to really challenge you. And again, check in with the feet, because it's really easy to just suddenly find that you've spun those heels out or in a little bit. Make sure again that you haven't put all the weight into your back leg. That you are evenly placed. If you're moving the head, bring it back to center. Take the arms forward and just swing the arms forward and back. Squeeze those inner thighs a little bit together, draw up through pelvic floor. And if you feel you can, turn the head as well, but only go across the right shoulder as the right arm comes back. Keep those hips stable and then release. Give the legs a shake out. That's harder than you think, isn't it? And you may have felt it quite heavily in the outer hip and glute area of the back leg. Okay, so we were stood with the outside edge of our left foot against the mat. Turn around. Place the outside edge of your right foot against the mat and the inside edge of your left foot against the mat. Once again, make sure heels are directly behind toes, but they don't have to touch front foot to back. You'll have a wobbly side and a wobblier side. It's just the way we're made. Oh, got a wobbly and wobblier side. So once again, take a moment Try and find the balance between both feet, not just sitting heavily into the back leg. Open up through the front of the hips, drop the sacrum down, lift the pubic bone. Feel that slightly engaged abdominal area. Drop the shoulders away from the ears, retract the chin, open, and find balance. Notice again if the weight went backwards. Mine immediately did, I had to correct. So once more, if you're really wobbly, if you're falling all over the shop, stay here, don't do anything else. Otherwise, from here, simply turn the head, moving the gaze really challenges us in our balance. Notice if you've got any crunching, grinding, cracking, popping in your neck as you do that. This might help to just ease some of that out. And then bring it back to center. Okay. Again, check in on the position, make sure you're not too heavily and all heavily back into the back leg, and then simply sweep the arms forward and back if that's working for you. If it doesn't, don't do it. Stay until you can find some balance. And then if it works for you, turning the head to look over the left shoulder as the left arm comes back. And notice again how that slightly smooth dynamic movement and turning the head can really challenge you. And then bring it to center, release and relax. So again, you may have felt that through the back leg. You may have also felt it in the calf. So don't be too concerned if you feel it somewhere where I perhaps don't mention. I'm really only going to mention where I feel it. And generally, it shows up in our weaknesses. All right, so give those legs a bit of a shake out and then bring yourself down onto the floor, onto your mat. Bring yourself onto hands and knees. Hands below the shoulders, knees below the hips, widening shoulders, drawing the shoulders down. The crown of the head reaches forward, allowing us again the natural curve of the neck, and we find the natural curve of the low back by not sinking too heavily and not trying to push up. Take a slight corset again around the centre of the body and keeping the shoulders drawn down, an imaginary line right down the very centre of the mat. You're going to slide away with one arm and the opposite leg. Try not to overreach. When you overreach, you tend to twist. So just slide away, and then from there, simply float, touch it back down, bring it back in, change sides. So slide away, float no higher than parallel, down and back in. What I want you to really focus on doing here, apart from not shifting the weight from side to side, and apart from not overreaching, is to maintain absolute stillness through the back edge of the body. So the only thing that's changing here is the movement of the arm and the movement of the leg. But the torso, the main body of the body, stays absolutely still. So we want to avoid shifting, we want to avoid twisting the hips, thinking more about the stillness of the movement and much less about the movement of the movement. So sliding away, touching back in, sliding in. Do make sure that you hold good connection to the mat with your hands, keeping that going. Ensure that the instep of the thumb and the first finger press into the mat, that you don't lift and just load all the weight into the outside edge of your wrist and around the little finger. It's not the way your wrist is designed to take your weight. Let's just do that a couple more times. Shoulders continue to draw down. Keep the back edge of that pelvis absolutely perfectly still. And ensure each time that you bring hand beneath the shoulder, knee beneath the hip, and rest. Take a moment and just take the pressure out of your wrists. And then carefully lay yourselves down to lie on your back. So from here, make sure you have the natural curve of your low back again. So this is the theme that runs through the whole thing. So at this point, If you had a plate of marbles resting on your belly, they would be still. If you were to imprint your back to the floor, pulling the pubic bone towards you, shortening the front edge of that body, all your marbles are going to run up into your belly button. If you were to overarch your back and press heavily forward to create this big exaggerated arch, your marbles will be falling off between your thighs. So bring your marbles back to centre and just find that balance in the back of the centre. Now, your hip bones. This is always troublesome for people. They never really know where their hip bones are, but your hip bones are these bones at the front edge of the body, not the width of your bottom. So find those little bony bits that once upon a time just used to show themselves without effort. Not so much for me now. But anyway, hip bones, face the ceiling, and that's the distance you want your heels and your knees. Relax those shoulders, take the arms up to the ceiling, shoulders widened, and from here, maintaining your same corset, the stillness of your body, the softness of the ribs, just let one arm move back, other arm move forward. Now, you may notice that the hand moving forward, the little finger touches the floor, but the hand moving back only comes to the corner of my eye. You are not required to take your arm all the way down to the floor, just to the corner of the eye as the arm moves back. Think of it in terms of reaching away rather than trying to do too much. So you're just opening up the space in the shoulder, nothing more required than that. Now, as you continue to move this, you're going to get into the rhythm of extending forward with the opposite leg. So as you breathe out, arm moves back, opposite leg moves forward. The balance remains at the back of the pelvis. So we're not moving those marbles. And every time we come back, we put the foot down before we lift the other. So foot comes down, then we change. Remember to have a breather if you need to at any point. There's a lot to remember. Shoulders are soft, ribs are still, pelvis is still, spine is neutral, abdominals are engaged. Arm moves back only in line with the corner of the eye. Leg moves forward, keeping a small gap between heel and floor. And bring it back to center. Let the hands move out wide, turn the palms up. And from here, keeping your chest and shoulders open, but connected to the ground, you're going to allow both knees to roll over to the left. You're going to bring them back to center and then change. So the opposite hip will lift, but the ribs and the shoulder stay down. Allow that nice gentle rotation to develop, and again, soften into those ribs. Rolling onto the edges of the feet, keeping a slight corset. And then bring it back to center. Bring the right knee into the chest, bring the left knee into the chest, and either holding across the shins or behind the thighs, just hug in. If you feel that you're overreaching here, put a little something behind the head, a pillow, a block, rolled towel, it doesn't really matter. But you just want to feel like you're able to relax the upper body, just roll that spine. Now from here, place the left foot down, take hold of the back of the right thigh, and just extend your leg to the ceiling, just a little. Doesn't have to be completely straight. If it is, that's great. If it isn't, we'll work on it, doesn't matter. And take care to hold away from the back of the knee. So hold across the back of the thigh. You can take the leg a little bit further forward if that helps, but make sure you're only arm length. Don't let your leg hang forward unsupported. Press a little bit more deeply down into the back of the pelvis, and then really, really lengthen that leg through to the ceiling. pull the toes down towards you. Do you feel that? Anywhere from the sole of the foot to the crown of your head. It could be anywhere between those points. And then release. Cross that thigh over. Take the arms out wide again. Use blocks if necessary, but otherwise keeping the shoulders down. Let both knees crossed over. Roll over to the left. You should feel a nice long pull come out of the waist down towards that hip. Now to release this, we like to unload the weight. So from here, just slide your top leg away, bring it back and follow. Bring the left leg into the body, hold behind the thigh, extend the leg. Right leg is bent now, foot is to the floor, and then, if necessary, move the leg slightly further away from you, again staying well away from the back of the knee, keeping the shoulders relaxed. Press down into the back of the pelvis, into the mat, and really send length into the leg, pushing the heel through, pulling the toes down. And that should give you, again, a little bit of feedback. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, release that crossing thigh over thigh, so left thigh over right. Open out the arms, allow both knees to roll over. Remember, support those legs if it feels that they're too far, it's too big a reach. Put a couple of cushions underneath that so the legs can land onto something rather than just having them hanging there. And once again, this opposite shoulder, this rib cage, this stays down, although we've clearly lifted through the back of the pelvis. And we take a few breaths, just allowing that rotation to open out around the lower back, around the waist, coming in towards the hip. To release that, we release the leg weight carefully. We slide that left leg away, bring it back to center. And just take a moment. Roll over onto your side. Press into the hands, come up. Give yourself a bit of a shrug out. How do you feel? So there you go. A little bit of a morning opener, a little bit of a routine to get your day started with. I will see you again soon. Bye.